Okay, it is June 4th, 2021. This is my first year, first garden. Actually, not my very first garden. I've done this years and years ago, a couple of times. And my grandpa, I got in the garden with him a little bit, so I remember a little bit from what he would show me, or I would see at his garden. And then I had one of my own for about 3 years. Big failure most of the time. Got a few things off first year, second year, but it's been, oh gosh, 10, 15 years ago. So this is cute little space that is about as big as I think I can do by myself. I don't want to do too much the first year, you know. So here is cucumber. I seeded, put out just a little bit too early. You know, we had a frost a little late, and I think it stunted everything, but it didn't kill anything but the watermelons I planted. So it killed those, but everything else made it through when a lot of people lost their, you know, their seedlings coming up this year. So I was lucky that it, and I think it was down here not getting a lot of sun. I don't know the area. I think kept it from frosting. But that's just a container of where I started some seedlings, and as I pick off suckers and thin plants out, I've been sticking them in here. And then we got our first rain of, oh gosh, first rain of weeks and weeks, and it filled it up because I never put holes in the bottom. Isn't that crazy? I didn't intend to use it for that, and still don't know if that's what I want to use it for, but they're living and they're rooting, because that little cherry I took off of a piece of the bigger plants we have up front, and just a sucker stuck it, or I was pruning bottom limbs, I think, but I stuck it in there for a couple weeks. Looking good, and it's got fruit on it, little tiny fruits, but it's a nice little cherry tomato. Now, I don't know the names of any types of tomatoes and stuff, and the stuff that I've planted. I know a little bit, but I can't even remember. So we're just gonna see what happens, see what we get. These were, oh, actually that's interesting, because most of these seeds were Dollar Tree seeds. 25 cents for 4. But, you know, it's a good start on the bottom. And it might not be the bottom. They might be just as good as any other seed out there. But we'll see. I don't know. I guess some people don't like Dollar Tree seeds, but I figured why not. Oh, and that's hummingbird. I just put over here, my theory is that maybe the bees will be drawn to the hummingbird feeder, not necessarily the hummingbird, which is nice. I think there was some honeysuckle up there last week. I think they were coming over there, or in right there to that honeysuckle. So, you know, it's nice to see one out here. I'll go ahead, and there they go. Oh, look at there. Oh my goodness, who knew? Who knew? That was crazy. A hummingbird fight. Hope I got that on video. Dang. Awesome. That's interesting. And look at looking up here in these woods. Look at that. That's mistletoe. Really. There's a clump that's died, but that's mistletoe. That's mistletoe up in that tree. Crazy. Yeah, but I never had a hummingbird feeder that actually worked. Now that was cool. But my thought was that it would bring the bees Because every time I've ever seen a hummingbird feeder, there'd be some bees around. So I thought it might bring the bees to pollinate, which is another thing I'm worried about. All these beautiful squash bushes I have. The foliage has really come out. In fact, I cut these back yesterday. But my fruit is not getting that big, so I'm worried that it's not getting pollinated. I'm just not seeing bees like you used to. Look at that. Look at the little hummingbirds. Oh, so cute. And I'm standing right here, and they're still right here. Oh, look at my guard dogs. Tucker. That's Tucker. That's my boy. He's 5 years old. And that is Layla. Oh, she is a guard dog. Now, oh, you should hear them at night. There's critters coming out here, I think. They are going foolish. She has been barking nonstop every night for the last week and a half. And then one night, the collars, the shot collars that they're on, I took hers off before we got back here to their pen. Their pens are back here. And she took off in them woods over there and treed something. And I kept hollering for her to come back. She wouldn't come back. Finally, like, I just ignored her and she come back to the front door about 10 minutes later. But she's obsessed with whatever is coming out of these woods at night. So I'm going to have my husband go get his deer camera and set it up so I can see what's coming out here. See what kind of animal they're barking at all night long. My tomatoes are staked up with umbrella ribs, like patio market umbrella ribs, because I happen to work at a factory that has these, and these were ones being thrown away, so I scavenged those, and that's what I'm using for steaks. You know, I like the cattle panel idea, love that, but I don't know, I feel like I'm doing this as cheaply as possible. So if I find something used that might work, I'm going to give it a try. You know, it won't hurt. It's free. And I am worried about this squash. The squash, I put the black netting up under, on the ground to kill weeds, because I just didn't want to deal with that. And so I don't know if that's a good deal or not. Maybe somebody can tell me, but put hay on top of that, and it's doing so much better for the moisture, holding the moisture. A lot better than just dirt, raw dirt. Because I didn't, this was soil that had been farmed, oh gosh, probably 50 years ago. This was somebody's garden back here. So the soil is dark. See how dark it is back there in the back? I just turned that. So the soil, I don't know. It looked good to me. And I never remember my grandpa he never added no potting soil to his, or compost to his big gardens that he had. Guess he had about an acre to 2 acre and a half of a garden all of his life. And I don't think he added anything to soils or did that much. I don't know. My uncles could tell me. I know my mama, she don't know much about the garden. Oh, look, a bee. There is a bee. Yes, you're welcome. Come visit. That was a big carpenter type bee. Or bumblebee. I imagine a bumblebee would be an excellent pollinator because they're bigger. I mean, for a squash plant, that might need a bigger pollinator because they got big old flowers. I tried to hand pollinate one and give up because it was rainy out, and so it was wet, and the pollen's not going to spread when it's wet. So that was stupid of me to try it then, but you know, it might have worked. I'm just hoping that they're getting pollinated so that I can have some fruit. But what I saw last night on YouTube was that I shouldn't have put those black things down the row of squash, because those squash needed to root into the ground. So I feel like I might need to go back in there and pull those up. The video I saw said that the worm that will get inside the borer, is it squash borer? Root borer, something like that, will get inside of the squash and kill it. But if you have let it root further down the line, maybe a portion of it will stay alive. So vine borers. That's what it was, vine borers. Okay, I got a little okra back there in the back. So that's squash and zucchini. Different. They're kind of mixed up because I forgot to label each individual cup, and I just, put a squash one in there and a zucchini one in one section, and then at some point all the little cups got mixed up. So I don't know what's the squash and what is zucchini. Uh-oh, something moving. It's a frog. Yep. It's a frog. Somewhere right in there. Saw it. They're the craziest frogs in this garden too. And I'm not a frog lover. Don't like them. I got a bearded lizard and he's a lot like a frog, but he's different. But I'm not a big frog lover, but I'm not as terrified as, I'm not real terrified of them. I don't have to run away when I see one. But these in here are funky looking. They're all different colors. Black, reddish, some that look like toads. But man, I seen one, he come up out of the ground and he had a funky leg all out to the side, like he had a disfigurement or something. So I'm thinking, dang, what in the world been dumped down here? Got these funky looking frogs. But you never know. I didn't have the soil tested, probably should have, but bigger. I don't think there's any chemicals coming through here. There is there's a pond drain off, or where one natural pond drains into another natural pond, which is back over in there, and there's a runoff from pond to pond back through there. So there's a little creek, little stream. Most of the year there's a little stream. If it gets really dry around here, it'll dry up, but most of the time there's a little stream back there. And sometimes there's a lot of water in it. I'd like to have a fish pond cut out of it somehow, but anyway. All right, well that's my garden. I started all these from seed. No, there's okra I bought from the hardware. But anyway, Dollar Tree seeds, see how they do. Free steaks. Tomatoes are coming up pretty good though. I heavily pruned. So, alright. Summer Garden Tour 1, Episode 1, 2021.